Hey guys, before we start this episode, you might be wondering, hey, how come Upcoming Attractions hasn't released stuff in a while? And how come they're releasing an episode about the Oscars and Morbius at this time of the year? Well, it's because I've been really sick. We recorded this episode, then I went out to see Sonic 2 shortly after, and in the theater I got really, really sick. They rushed me to hospital, and I stayed in hospital for almost an entire month. It was 3 weeks. So that sucked. I've been out of hospital for a few weeks now, and I've still got a little bit of path to recovery. I'm not in any condition to be recording and releasing podcasts, but I want to keep you guys entertained, and I don't want Upcoming Attractions to die. So we're going to put this episode out, give you some content, and then over the next maybe a month or so, we're going to release some unreleased episodes, some episodes from the vault. These were like test episodes when we're trialing different technology and seeing the best way to do this remotely and stuff. So we hope you enjoy that and hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you to everyone who's heard about my condition and has sent me get well messages and stuff. I really appreciate that. It's been a rough and emotional time for me, and but I love this show and I love making this content, and I love that so many people do enjoy this as well. I know we're still kind of small, but it's lovely to see the growth of the podcast, and yeah, oh man, I'm getting sentimental. So let's just get into the episode, shall we? Thanks again. We'll be back soon, kicking butt, and yeah, enjoy the episode. On this episode of Upcoming Attractions, let's talk about the Oscars. Also, the premiere of Moon Knight. Plus, our film discussions for Morbius, King Richard, and X. All this and more on Upcoming Attractions. And we're back for another action-packed episode of Upcoming Attractions. As always, I'm your host, Matt Vella, live in the flesh. And with me, as always, is the homie, Jesse Highland. Jesse, how are we doing today?
Good, Matty. Hey, guys. I'm back. After a few weeks, I'm back in action and ready to go.
Yeah, back in the flesh. I was just joking off air how you skipped last episode, and this episode, 80s missed it out. She has a really exciting audition at the moment, so we're rooting for her and hope she does amazing and nailed the next big role and becomes a super famous celebrity. That would be cool for our podcast, who would get a lot more views. So that would be nice. Fingers crossed on that one. But guys, we are here, and for those who are just joining us, g'day. We're Upcoming Attractions. We react to the latest film trailers, talk about the latest films in cinema, and more. We just love movies, and we love talking movies. If you like movies, why not check us out? Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. That really goes a long way. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, other social media. And of course, if you want to just listen to us, check us out on iTunes and Spotify, or watch us on YouTube. As always, we appreciate your love and support. And Jesse, guess what?
Yes.
We hit 1,000 followers on TikTok.
We did. Woo!
Yeah, very excited about that. I know it may not seem big deal to a lot of people, because a lot of people, there's some experts out there that get like 1 million followers in a day. But look, we're a podcast. We talk about a very specific topic. We try to avoid trends on TikTok and sounds. So the fact that our little clips from our shitty little podcast, people are actually reacted to them and enjoying it, it means a lot. So thank you to everyone who is out there supporting us on whatever platform. This is a small milestone for us. We're going to tackle way more. I think at the time of talking, we're at 1,020. So that's 20 more followers we got in the space of like a week. So that's pretty cool. But look, you're not here to hear us rant about our social media. You guys want to hear the fun stuff. So let's talk about the fun stuff, specifically the Oscars. Oh boy, it was this one was a real slap in the face to some people, wasn't it?
Starting off strong with the reference to
like
the slap.
Look, we've agreed off air. We don't want to talk about the Will Smith slap too much.
It's been
memed to death.
It's been covered to death. Like, everyone knows, I don't think we need to go into too much about it. Maybe
I feel like there's no good takes to have on it. Like either way, I feel like yeah, you should never resort to violence. I do think it leads to a interesting conversation about the power dynamics in Hollywood. It is interesting how they let him get an Oscar after that. Like I'm sure, but like anyone who's run an event will tell you when something like that happens, it's just a frenzy. No one knows how to react. There's no protocol for that situation.
yeah.
I'm sure. So I'm sure everyone thought Will was gonna be friendly with Chris Rock. I mean, they've that I'm sure those two guys have crossed paths before.
He's a well.
Chris has made a lot of jokes about Will and Jada in the past, and nothing bad's happened.
You know, the funny thing is, I actually found a episode where Chris Rock he stars in one episode of Fresh Prince, and
Really,
and he plays. I think he dresses up as a woman. I think he's like a transgender woman, and
Chris Rock,
yeah, and
from the Fresh Prince,
yeah, and it's just for like a one skit, like a one skit sort of episode, and
wow.
and Will Smith takes him to like a bar or a club, and they're kind of mingling, and it was so weird. And all the comments were like, "Wow, this is going to be really weird. I hope Will Smith doesn't slap this person 20 years down the track."
Well, I think a couple of years ago, Chris Rock hosted the Oscars. He did an amazing job. It was the year that the Oscars got a lot of criticism for Oscars So White. And he roasted the Oscars, like in like kind of a light, playful way, but like, and his jokes were great. And in that, he did a whole bunch of he made fun of Will Smith and Jada as well. It's happened for wow, dude! I found the clip you're talking about. On YouTube.
It's nuts, eh? It's nuts.
Wow,
it's weird seeing them together.
This is not aged well at all. That is definitely Chris Rock.
Yep.
Dressed as a woman.
Yep.
With a little like Monroe bump there. Oh my god. Jasmine Perry goes out on a date with Will Smith. So Chris Rock plays Jasmine. Oh my god, and
look at the comments. The top comments are just
oh yeah. All these comments. There's this one here from 7 days ago. It's the second top comment. It goes, "This is about to get relevant real quick." Look. Last thing I'll say on it is, I heard the funniest joke today. I got to say it to you. What did they find on Chris Rock's face after the slap? Fresh Prince.
Oh,
Prince.
Yeah, no,
that's funny.
That's your typical Jag joke.
That's the ultimate dad joke right there. That's amazing. Also, I'm just going to call you out. You said Jad joke.
Yeah, dad joke. I stumbled my words. Hey man, I'm tired. Funny. I'm running on barely any sleep, so I'm tired. Give me a break.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Let's get quickly into the breakdown of the Oscars. Guys, we're going to go through a gauntlet speed round of this. I'm going to read out the winners. And along the way, if I have a reaction, I'm going to say it. If you have a reaction, you just say it, and we'll just go through. We're not going to do every category. We're probably going to avoid the documentary and short film ones, just because we mostly specialize in features that are theatrically released here. But let's get into it. Acting the leading role, winner obviously went to Will Smith. That obviously it felt a bit weird, but look, I want to be honest. Out of all ones I have seen, I feel like it could have gone either way. I'm not really particular. I was rooting for Will Smith.
Was he really good in King Richard?
Here's the thing about his performance in King Richard. There's no like major scene where it's like super emotional and you go, oh, that's an Oscar moment right there. But it's one of the very few roles I've seen Will Smith do where he disappears into his role. Like, he's not trying to play Will Smith. He's actually making an effort, like he's changing his mannerisms, his voice. And Will, I feel like, doesn't do that a lot.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's a bit of a novelty because you're not used to that. It takes you by surprise. When Jared Leto does it, we expect that from Jared Leto. But for Will Smith, it's cool to see him do something different. And he does it convincingly. So is it my favorite Will Smith role? No. Is it his best role? Maybe not. It might make his top 5 though.
Yeah.
But it was really good. So, well-deserved. But if it went to Benedict Cumberbatch or literally anyone else on the list, I wouldn't be mad either.
Yeah, best performance by an actor at the Oscars.
Well, the slap was a performance, that's for sure.
That's what I was referring to, Matthew.
Yeah. Okay, actor in supporting role. The winner was Troy Kotsur. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, for Coda.
Yeah.
Look, I haven't seen Coda personally myself, but from everything I've heard,
it did well.
Really...
It did well at the Oscars.
Yeah. And look, I'm not surprised. Like he's a deaf actor, and even when he like gave his speech, he was very passionate the way he did everything. And I recently found out he was in the Book of Boba Fett. In one of the earlier episodes, there's like a sign language sand person, and apparently that was him. Like he did it, and I think he changed it. Like, it wasn't actually like human sign language, but he invented something for it. Like invented a hand language. But yeah, this guy, like, he's earned his stripes, and no one seems mad at this win. So good for them. Next up, actress in a leading role, Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I know Adrienne was rooting for her, so that's pretty awesome. Actress in a supporting role, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story. Great performance. I know that was Adrienne's pick as well. If I had to pick anything else, look, Kristen Dunst for The Power of the Dog. She was my favorite part of that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to be honest, like,
she was good.
No hate to Jesse Plemons or Benedict Cumberbatch. They're obviously both great, but I can't explain it. There was something about her in that movie that really drew me to her. And that middle section of the film, especially my favorite scene in that film by far is where she's struggling on the piano and Benedict Cumberbatch is just killing the song.
It's got the banjo. Dun, 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 dun. Well, that's delivery.
Yeah, it's just such a unique way of doing a power play where he's just like putting his dominance over her. And like, I really felt like her weakness and his strength in that scene. Well, like if you were to pick any scene to point out like amazing directing from that film, it's that scene for me. Like, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, well, Benedict and Kirsten were probably my favorite performances in. I just feel like Jesse Plemons just didn't have a lot to work with, really. Like his character.
I love Jesse Plemons. He's amazing, but yeah, it's not his best role. Yeah, I would say. But also, like, what I don't love about that movie is I feel like, I could be wrong here, but I feel like the point of view changes from chapter to chapter. And I see how that might work great in a book. But for me, when I watch a film, personally, I want to stick with one point of view if possible. But that's just
one character. Yeah.
Like, I guess in a way, you're kind of following Benedict, even though he's kind of like the quote-unquote antagonist of the film. So you could argue there is one point of view, but like, I feel like we're just seeing him from other people's point of views in different ways, which is an interesting creative choice. Personally, it's not for me, but it's still good. Anyways, let's move on. Animated feature film went to Encanto. A lot of people were rooting for Encanto. Personally, The Mitchells vs. the Machines was one of my favorite films.
That's what I remember you saying that.
Yeah, dude, like that movie, like I'm mad I didn't watch it straight away when it came out. It took me a while, but that movie I feel like is really innovative with the way it handles stuff like social media. It's a great story, but the way it physically shows like a lot of the like meme culture and internet culture, I think is really creative. Let's move on to cinematography. I mean, Greg Fraser, Dune, of course, is going to win it, right? Well, like, I think West Side Story was pretty great cinematography. But yeah, Dune. Like, I'm so glad Dune won that. Dune deserved that so much.
They put so much effort into that movie. I mean, you know, you'd be a bit disheartened if it at least didn't win a couple of things. So,
as a guy who's a big fan of genre, when a movie as great as Dune gets the recognition it deserves, it really makes me like smile on the inside. I felt the same way when Shape of Water was cleaning up at the Oscars a couple of years ago, which is great. But moving on to costume design, Cruella won. I was saying for ages, Cruella has to win costume design before it was even nominated, because that movie is literally about Cruella de Vil trying to become a costume designer. If the costumes design did not win, that movie would have failed pretty hard.
You got a serious problem then.
Yeah, like yeah, so yeah, they were very successful there. If I'm not mistaken, during the Oscar speech, this woman Jenny Bivan, I think her name's pronounced. I think she accidentally called Emma Stone Emma Thompson. I don't see anyone talk about it,
Ooh.
so maybe I heard it wrong. But yeah, I was like, she's an older woman, give her a pass. But yeah, that was funny. Honestly, though, if Dune got it, I wouldn't be mad either. Dune was they had some cool costumes. Surprised House of Gucci never got a nomination. Come to think of it.
Yeah.
Moving on, we're gonna skip the documentary ones. We're gonna go film editing again for Dune. Really well deserved. Honestly, I think it's one of the only categories. And I'm gonna show my I guess I'm a bit of a poser. Please don't. I hope I don't lose all my credibility here. I think this is one of the only categories where I've seen every film in it. There's not a lot of those, and I would say honestly, it could have gone either way. I'm happy it went to Dune, but as I said, I think a few episodes ago, if Don't Look Up had a chance for anything, it was editing. I would be mad if that won anything else, but editing,
I fucking hate
think
that
Don't
movie.
Look Up. I love Adam McKay. He is a genius, but I feel like really missed with Don't Look Up. I did like the editing in it, but like that's me scraping the barrel for a compliment, to be honest.
Yeah.
But look, Dune is a masterpiece. We've said it 100 times.
Yeah.
Has a really great quote. I can't remember who it's from, but it's like, editing is directing. Like every movie has two directors, the director and the editor. And as I've said 100 times, it is a crime that Denis Villeneuve did not get a nom for Best Director. So I'm happy it won Best Editor.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
yeah. International feature film, obviously, it went to Drive My Car. It had so many noms, everything else. I haven't seen it, but a lot of people are talking great things about The Worst Person in the World. Apparently, it's like a masterpiece.
Well, I heard a lot about Drive My Car. I've heard a lot of buzz about it. I wouldn't mind seeing it just to see just how good it is. So, but yeah.
Me too, until I found out it's a 3-hour characters piece, mostly taking place in the car, and 3 hours with subtitles of just long conversations. It really doesn't sound like my type of film. But when an international film gets this much buzz, it's hard not to pay attention, right?
Yeah.
Like Parasite was a masterpiece. So, yeah, Drive My Car is great. I'm sure. Anyways, moving on. Makeup and hairstyling. Eyes of Tammy Faye. Not a lot of surprise there. Then we got music. Original score went to Dune. Of course, it's Hans Zimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. I got to say, I was actually really impressed with the score for The Power of the Dog, actually.
Yeah, that was a good score as well.
That was something that really stood out to me. It was like really weird, but in a good way at times. I wouldn't have been mad if that won. Parallel Mothers. I haven't actually heard of this film. But yeah, moving on to music. Original song, No Time to Die. No surprise there. I think that was the front runner from the get-go.
You didn't like that one, did you, though?
Was
that the wait, which one was the one? What was the one
that was Billie Eilish doing No Time to Die, and I'm just not a big fan of her style, and her and her brother, because I know they're a writing partnership. But to be honest, like this might be a controversial thing to say, but a lot of the James Bond songs aren't really my thing. Like they're always really slow and.
Oh, I love the Skyfall one by Adele.
Oh, actually, that was pretty good. Skyfall was pretty.
It fucking slaps.
It was very Adele. It was very beautiful.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's like every time I think of James Bond music, I go back to I think it's Madonna for Die Another Day, and I just like, why can't they all be fun like that song? But yeah, I feel like people crucify me for that comment. So let's just move on. Best Picture went to Coda.
Yeah.
Not a big surprise. It winning
we originally were going to say it was Power of the Dog, or I think 80 said if Belfast might take it. I haven't seen Coda, but I think for me, because I didn't watch I only saw bits and pieces of the Oscars, but I think that was kind of a bit of a surprise. I mean, I didn't know a lot about the film, so
It was. Look, Power of the Dog was the front runner until about, I think, a week before the Oscars, when it took the award show's called, I think it's called the Producer Awards or something, and the majority of the Academy are producers. So whatever wins that usually wins. It's not common for the front runner to lose that one.
Yeah.
So that kind of made it. It was Power of the Dog until then, and then it could have gone, I think, either way. But before that, Belfast was a huge front runner. It had so many nominations. I could be wrong, but I don't think Belfast won a single category. Which is
no, it did.
No,
I think it. Yeah, I'm like fairly certain it did. It won one.
Maybe it's coming up. Maybe I haven't gotten to it yet. But if so, it won a lot less than I expected. Because at one point, I remember in the early days, I was thinking, "Fuck, Belfast is going to win everything. I got to watch this movie."
Yeah,
and no, same with Power of the Dog. I thought Power of the Dog was going to clean up, but if anything cleaned up, it's Dune. But even Dune only won, I think.
I think it was quite balanced. A lot of films won something like,
and I don't think that's common. Usually, there is something that's cleaning up a lot.
Belfast screenplay, original screenplay.
Okay, so we haven't got to that yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for them. Coda also, fun fact. Apple TV Plus has beaten Netflix to winning the Best Picture. That's interesting because Netflix has been in the game a lot longer. Netflix has been gunning for the Best Picture nominee a lot longer than Apple has. But the difference between Apple TV Plus and Netflix is trying to appeal to a wide audience. They want Oscar films. They want bargain bin films. They want blockbusters. They want Oscar films. They want everything. Apple are like, no, we want prestigious, fancy pants, artsy shit.
Yeah.
So they really probably spent a lot of time just trying to think what film's going to win Best Picture, and they won. They put their eggs in the right basket. So good for them. Congratulations to Apple. It feels weird hearing celebrities thank Apple at the Oscars. It's a little bizarre. It's going to take a while to get used to that.
Yeah.
But moving on, production design went to Dune. Very happy with that win.
Yeah,
a lot of sci-fi
they did a lot of the very technical stuff. They won.
Yeah, but even production design, like Dune uses a lot of practical stuff.
Yeah.
It's very physical sets, and when you think of sci-fi, you think of CGI. So I'm surprised. I was thinking this might get overlooked. Honestly, I think West Side Story deserved this win because the production design. The production design in West Side Story is insane. Like last episode, me and Adrian was talking about it, and I couldn't get over it. Like every time I'm looking at the screen, I'm just like, holy shit, this must cost so much money. Because they're always using wide angles, a lot of wide angles that are showing like these huge like cities and construction sites, and it's just really impressive. It's breathtaking. Some of the best production design I've seen in a while. So still happy Dune won it, but I feel like West Side Story could have easily beaten that out. Skipping past the short film ones, sound also went to Dune. Not a big surprise there. Wow, Dune really did well this year.
Yeah, they cleaned. They did very well.
They did. I know we just said it was balanced, but nah, Dune did clean a little bit. Visual effects, Dune as well. It would have been blasphemy if Dune did win this one. And then writing, adapted screenplay went to Coda. Again, surprised that wasn't Power of the Dog, but Coda is Coda. And then finally, Belfast won
original
writing.
Screenplay.
Yeah, original screenplay.
Yeah.
Any final comments or thoughts on the Oscars?
Not exactly. I don't. To be honest, I didn't really have a lot to say about it. I've only seen a handful of the movies that were like the top contention for the major awards. So I just thought it was a very balanced out win for a lot of productions instead of just one cleaning up. I think the only one that really cleaned up, I'd say, would probably be Dune, and that's probably for all the technical aspects of it. But besides that, I don't really have much else to say about it.
Sci-fi films usually do well with the technical ones. Like the only stuff that Star Wars gets nominated for is like
There's technical
stuff.
yeah.
And, like Star Wars, if there's a Star Wars movie, it's winning sound. Like it always wins sound. Here's something fun I learnt during the Oscars. Did you know Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons are married in real life?
Yeah.
That blew. I had no idea. That blew my mind. Todd from Breaking Bad and Mary Jane from Spider-Man are a couple. There was I don't know if you caught it, but there was an awkward moment during the Oscars where Amy Schumer again comes out with another easier to make joke, which has been done before at the Oscars. Surprise, surprise. She goes, oh, there are seat fillers at the Oscars. She goes up to Kristen Dunst, who's up for an Academy Award, and she's like, oh, here's a seat filler. Can you move, please? And she takes her out of her seat. She sits down and starts flirting with Jesse Plemons in front of his wife, and he's like, he's like smiling, kind of going along with it, but you can tell he's also not cool with it. But he's being a good sport about it.
Yeah.
But it feels really disrespectful to Kirsten Dunst because she's up for an Academy Award. It's her first time nominated, and I know she's spoken about how she feels a bit like ignored by Hollywood and stuff, even though she's been in this game for a long time. And just like Amy didn't do anything particularly overly offensive, but it's like everywhere she goes, I'm actually rooting for her to not piss people off, but I don't think it's possible for her to just not shoot herself in the foot every time.
I lost hope for Amy Schumer a long time ago. So
I know. Look, it's just like, I don't know. This lady makes some weird choices sometimes. But anyways, that's the Oscars. If it wasn't for the Will Smith slap, it would have been a rather non-controversial Oscars, which is rare. But no, Will Smith had to ruin it. And I think, I honestly just hope the Oscars never end, because every year I'm just like to myself, what's going to happen this time? Are they going to mix up another award? Is someone going to fight someone? There's always something. And it makes for some good memes. And I was really proud of my Street Fighter 2 meme that I made of Smith and Chris Rock.
That was a good meme.
I'm mad it didn't go viral. TikTok took it down.
Yeah, I was about to say you took it down. I thought you took it down, or did TikTok take it down? Or?
TikTok said it broke the community guidelines. I figured out what it was. They wouldn't tell me what it was, but I used copyrighted music. I used the Street Fighter 2 Guile's theme music.
Can you like morph it or like get around it, or is there a way?
Not without losing the views. You know? And I feel like it would have ruined the joke too, because I needed the Street Fighter music for Street Fighter. And after that happened, I also had another one, a Men in Black one. I took that down too because I was worried they would. I was worried that they would eventually catch some. That one didn't get many views, so I thought they'd figure
TikTok,
it out.
What are you doing? You're ruining our account.
We gotta play by their rules, and their rules are: if you want to use a sound, you got to use it from their sound menu.
Yeah.
So I can probably get away with it on Instagram. I don't. Maybe Facebook, YouTube, definitely, but TikTok. They're very smart with policing music rights. So it's hard to get mad at them for doing the right thing. But fuck it, I'll get mad at them anyways. Let's move on, shall we?
Yep.
Jesse, you're not really a Marvel fan, are you?
No, not at all.
No. Well, please let me rant for 5 minutes about the Moon Knight premiere. Moon Knight is the latest show starring Oscar Isaac on Disney Plus, and Moon Knight is the first TV show Marvel have done where they're introducing a new character or a new superhero. And we've only got the first episode so far, but oh my god, I love it so much. I'm already in love with it. The problem is it's all about just setup. So I feel like I haven't gotten the real show yet. We'll get that in episode 2. But what's really interesting about this is one of the ways Marvel are getting around their Marvel formula and with their origin stories is now what they do is, like, you know, they used to do the typical origin story. Superhero gets bitten by a radioactive who gives a fuck, and then they turn to a superhero and they fight the bad guys just like them, the end. with Black Panther, Shang-Chi, Moon Knight. There's probably some more. What they're doing now, the way they get around it is the character starts off with Captain Marvel. That's another one. Captain Marvel, Moon Knight, Black Panther, Shang-Chi. It's 4 origin story movies now where they start off with the character already has their superpowers, and then they reveal the origin as the story goes on. And what they do with this one, it's really interesting, is Oscar Isaac's character has a split personality. And whenever he has the personality shift, he blacks out. So throughout the episode, it's kind of unraveling this story, this mystery, this suspense of what is it, what's going on. And at the end, he discovers he has a split personality. And a split personality is the superhero Moon Knight. And that's where you get this huge, awesome reveal at the end, where he fights this like Egyptian monster dog thing. And it's really fucking cool. And I'm, as a screenwriter and an aspiring filmmaker myself, it's really exciting to see how Marvel innovate and evolve their writing process. Because like 5 years ago, people were complaining that Marvel movies were all feeling the same. And now they've come up with a new way to make it fresh. And Marvel are good at doing this, dude. Like they reinvent themselves. Like when they first started their phase 1, when they started phase 1, they were just doing generic origin story movies that Hollywood's been doing for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? But they had the post-credit scenes, they had the connecting stories, and that was enough to keep people interested. That started dying down. So around phase 2, they're like, now we're going to introduce new genres. And they started doing a space opera with Guardians of the Galaxy, a political thriller with The Winter Soldier, and now we're getting like a sitcom with WandaVision, and a straight-up comedy with Thor Ragnarok, and Ant-Man's a heist movie, and all these other genres and stuff they're messing around with. And now in, I think, phase 3 especially, where they're introducing a lot more characters, they've kind of reinvented the origin story by having the character start off with powers, and then the rest of it is a discovery of how it happened. So with Black Panther, you find out it's a title passed down from king to king. Captain Marvel, she has amnesia, just to discover her story that way. Shang-Chi, it's like he was trained as a kid, and he reveals that to the other characters that goes on. And I just find it like, as a creative myself, watching Marvel films and stuff, it's really exciting for me to see there's good character work, good storytelling. Because every now and then you see a movie like Morbius, which is generic as fuck, which we'll talk about later, or fucking Venom, and it's like, oh man, these motherfuckers have learnt they're using Marvel characters, but they haven't learnt the right lessons from Marvel. And yeah, that's the whole copycat syndrome. But we'll get into that later. Look, let's move on though, because I don't want to talk your ear off to death about Moon Knight and how great it is, and how Oscar Isaac is the most attractive human being ever, possibly. He's a beautiful.
He is a rugged man, a ruggedly handsome man. God
damn, it's not fair. It's not fair. Save some pussy for the rest of us, Oscar Isaac. Save some pussy for the rest of us. All right, let's get into our film discussions. Spoiler alert, the following film discussions will contain spoilers. Morbius, King Richard, and X. If you don't want spoilers, be sure to check the time codes in the description below. This is your spoiler warning, you've been warned. And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Morbius starring Jared Leto. And I think we should start off by saying, I win. I win the bet. For the guys who don't know, we had a bet. Jesse and Adrienne. You know, let's pull some IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, real quick. But
it's probably really bad. But you know,
yeah.
I thought. Look, you know, it could do okay. It could be that one-off that, you know. It might be okay. They might be.
Well, I was in the camp, honestly. Like I thought it would be terrible for a number of reasons. But I thought if there was a way that it would flip, it would be if it's like Venom 1, which I thought the story would be equally generic, but without the cringy comedy that I found cringy, then it's got a chance. Problem is, audiences seem to really like that comedy aspect. But looking at it on Rotten Tomatoes, so our agreement was if the critics give it over 50%,
Yeah.
I got to buy everyone dinner. If it's under 50%, then I win and you owe me dinner. Currently, the critic score is 17% on Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience is at 70. The audience is at 70.
Oh, that's too high.
Like,
that's too high. But
it is too high. But I feel like
17's way too low. Like it's not great, but it doesn't deserve 17%.
Here's the thing. I will say this. I think I'm actually really surprised how harsh everybody's being in this movie. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's really generic. I think it's very lazy. But in the past, people have been way more lenient on lazier films. I think what set this off for some people, well, one, it's a bit of a meme. Like, people are taking photos of empty theaters on opening night.
Yeah. I've sent you a few memes of that.
Yeah. There's a few memes going around. There's also another one where apparently there was a Discord event where Jared Leto surprised everybody from this Discord event with free Morbius merch. Everyone's talking about how it's clearly fake and a PR stunt because they all look like influencers, and people are just like, "There's no way these people live in a Morbius Discord chat." Because already that's weirdly specifically niche enough. But these fucking pretty boys and shit, they don't even know who the fuck Morbius is, you know? So, yeah, Sony they really shoot themselves in the foot with a lot of the promotion they do. Like, all their posters are terrible. Like, even the Spider-Man No Way Home posters got roasted.
Well, all the Tom Holland Spider-Man movie posters, they all look the fucking same. It's like Spider-Man with a blue sky in the background and the city, and it's either him swinging on a web or like on a wall. Or look at all the three.
And it doesn't look realistic, and it doesn't look real either. It looks like a shitty drawing.
No, and they all look the exact same.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of truth to that. And also the Morbius poster looks so much like the Venom 1 poster, where it's like half his face, half the monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Sony, I think what they do. I was thinking about this lately. The way that Sony treat the Spider-Man movies is the same way studios used to treat slasher movies in the 80s, in the sense that they'd rush them out. They're like, okay, we need at least one a year. Doesn't matter about the quality. Doesn't matter about the script. Hell, rush the script. Because at the end of the day, they believe the brand will put butts in seats. And in the 80s, it worked. People wanted to see slasher movies. They didn't care if it was Nightmare on Elm Street 200 or Friday the 13th 6 million. You know, they would show up to the theater regardless. And that's why, and that's why most of those movies kind of suck. There's some great ones in there, some cool kills, but like, especially in the later half of those franchises, terrible scripts, horrible characters, everything. And I feel like that's how Sony treat the Spider-Man movies. They go, oh, as long as we have a post-credit scene, it'll work. And I think people are getting smart now because even the hardcore Marvel fans are roasting the post-credit scene for Morbius.
But you know what?
It's really forced and it makes very little sense.
Do you know what, though? I feel like, though, with those 80s slasher movies, at least you can enjoy the campiness and the cheesiness of it. I don't think in 20 years' time, people are going to be pulling up Sony Marvel movies and thinking, oh, yeah, let's laugh at the cheesy campiness of it. They're just bad. They're just bad. There's no entertainment value to it. At least with those 80s slasher movies, you can say, oh, well, there's some entertainment with them. You can see the really cool kills, the gore, the cheesiness.
Here's the problem. In the 80s, I'm willing to bet they didn't know that they were campy. They just thought it was fun.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're all campy.
Might not be a bad thing.
They're not all campy, but a lot of them were.
The later Freddy movies are campy as fuck.
Yeah,
right. And but they kind of knew what they were doing. I guess they knew they wanted to be fun. They wanted to make them fun, but I don't know. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be laughing at Morbius.
No,
hell, they won't even do it now. There's hardly any jokes in it. But
no,
there are some movies.
Oh no, there is one joke. I am Venom.
I hate that because let's be realistic. There's no way Morbius knows who Venom is.
No,
He's not. There's no scenes and the other stuff where
it made no sense. That made no sense. There's no context for it. It's like, why is he saying it?
No,
It did. Venom wasn't even brought up.
The guy should have been like, "Who's Venom?" Like that's what it should have been. Like it was very weird. And I think,
but you know what the weird thing was is in the trailer. He says something like, "I am Venom," and then he says, "No, it's just me, Michael Morbius."
Yeah, he starts joking as it.
But they cut out the last part. They just left it at "I am Venom." So
if anything, it makes less sense in the movie. It made more sense in the trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
They actively made the scene worse. But you know what? I think there's some interesting politics behind the scenes because in the trailer there are a lot of references to Spider-Man. And they all got wiped out of this movie until the post-credit scene. There was a scene, and it was confusing people because there was a scene in the trailer where Jared Leto is walking down the street. There's a poster of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in the background. And then there was another scene, I can't remember what it was. There was a bunch of other scenes with Adrian Toomes, Michael Keaton, and they were cut out. And then the post-credit scenes, there's two of them. Neither of them makes sense, at all.
No.
And they're cut up like it's meant to be the same scene, but separate. It very confusing, very forced. It's the ugly side of showing how desperate Sony is, you know? And it's kind of like, Michael Keaton, you're better than this. For the record, Michael Keaton in Spider-Man Homecoming is amazing. One of the best villains Marvel has ever had because the character is really, really well written. Everything he does makes sense. There's an amazing scene where it's him and Tom Holland in a car, and you get scared because they really emphasize that he's a full grown adult male who knows what he's doing, and Tom Holland is a dumb kid, you know? And you feel the emotional stakes, and you get worried for him. It's great writing. And this piece of shit, though, he goes, "I think we should team up to take down Spider-Man." First of all, Morbius should have said, "Who's Spider-Man?"
Exactly.
And
it's like, "Oh yeah, bro, let's take down Spider-Man."
And he's like, "Oh, the Spider-Man, I think it has something to do with Spider-Man in a different universe. Now that I'm in the same universe, let's attack a different Spider-Man." No, it makes no sense. But also, like, in Spider-Man Homecoming, the way it ends is he finds out Spider-Man's identity, right? And then there's a scene where, like, another villain comes to him and goes, "I heard a rumor that you know who Spider-Man is." And in the movie, like, his daughter is dating Tom Holland and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then he goes, like, because he's like a man of honor and he has a code, he goes, "No, I don't know the meaning of the identity of Spider-Man." So he keeps it to himself because he's kind of got like this like code of honor. And then just to see him in this movie to be like, let's start up a villain team up because synergy is good for profits for Sony. Like, it's just really it puts a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about post-credit scenes. We're actually here to talk about the movie Morbius. So, that was a fun conversation. Jesse, give me your overall thoughts of the movie and how you felt about it.
It was very ordinary, very forgettable. I've almost forgotten about the whole thing. I will say this because I was aware of how negative the reception was when because Matt and I both saw the movie together. I was aware of the negative reception going in, so my expectations were very low. And I was watching the first half of the movie, and I thought there was some interesting stuff getting set up. It was interesting stuff. I think you actually leaned to me during the first half, and you're like, "This is actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be." And that's just when I was watching the first half of the movie. That's what I was generally thinking. I'm like, "This isn't actually as bad as all the critics are making it out to be."
I went in expecting dumpster fire, and I just got a dumpster.
Yeah,
and which I know is not a huge improvement, but it's something. It wasn't that bad.
So the first half, I was kind of interested in where they're going to take this. I did actually enjoy that scene where he first turns into Morbius and he kills all those mercenaries on board. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, it would have been
horror vibes in that.
I did. It's probably the one scene I actually did enjoy. I mean, it would have been 100 times better if they actually had blood, but they do this stupid M-rated, PG-13 rated thing where they like, "Oh, he got his throat cut. You can hear the gurgle of the blood, but you can't see any blood." Hey,
Yeah.
so fucking dumb. And then I think for me, the first brief fight he has with Matt Smith, who Matt Smith is probably the best part of this whole movie. The first
Probably.
the first part of after that first fight they kind of have in the train station where Matt Smith kills the police. After that, the movie just fucking tanked. Absolutely tanked. And it's like you told me when we were in the cinema, it had nowhere to go. It had nothing to do,
Yeah.
nowhere to go. I hated that thing as well. There's a thing where Morbius and Matt Smith are moving where they're in their vampire forms, and they got all this like coloring fluff stuff behind them whenever they're moving.
Yeah, the fluttery effect. Yeah.
That fucking infuriated me. I couldn't. I know you could consider it a nitpick, but it fucking infuriated me because it's like, what is that shit? And then when they're fighting at the end in the really shitty climactic battle they have, it's just all this fluff and color and rubble, and you can't even see a fucking thing. You're like, what the fuck's going on?
I was talking to a friend of mine about that, and he was like, I couldn't tell what was going on in the fight. I think it was too much shaky cam. Like, that wasn't shaky cam. That was just these weird vibration visual effects covering everything. And you mix that with fast editing and CGI that's at nighttime, which makes it even harder to see. It just becomes a mess.
It was shit.
It's almost unwatchable, I would say. I wouldn't say it's completely unwatchable, but it's pretty unwatchable. But you compare that to the train fight sequence where it's perfectly lit.
So much better.
Less of the effects. 100 times better.
And it's too much CGI. It was like a CGI fuckfest. But no.
And it's bad CGI.
And it's bad CGI.
At times it looked like a Snapchat filter on Jared Leto's face. It was pretty bad.
Do you know what? I watched a couple of interviews of Jared Leto about Morbius because I was interested. I was interested, how is he going to sell this? How is he going to respond? I was watching this one interview, and some interviewer was like to him, how much practical effects are in this and how much is CGI? And Jared Leto goes, this is, I really wanted it to be CGI. I really liked CGI. I want more CGI than practical effects. And the interviewer's like, so why do you want more CGI? And Jared Leto, I kid you not, goes, well, CGI is the future,
That is a man who does not have a good answer.
And to top it off, so the guy asked, the Morbius thing, the Morbius makeup, was there practical effects there? Was CGI? He's like, no, it was mostly CGI. He's like, the CGI is the future, and I prefer CGI. Look, you can do a lot more with CGI or some shit like that. I watched an interview of Jared Leto then, probably about 10, 15 years ago, because it was like one of those YouTube linking things where they linked me to a bunch of different. Yeah. Anyway, there's an interview with Jared Leto where he goes to the interviewer, I hate prosthetics. I hate wearing prosthetics. So me and my brain's thinking, you're not preferring it because it's CGI. You're just preferring it because you don't want to wear prosthetics.
Oh yeah, and look, look at him. He's like one of the biggest pretty boys in Hollywood. He'd probably be like, I'd be worried that like this would ruin my skin, because I use 300 moisturizers a day. He seems like that type of guy. I want to get back to a comment you made earlier about how after the train fight, the movie just dips.
Yeah.
It's because the stakes never get raised from there. Sure, like he kills a person here or there, but it's the same story beats being repeated with slight variations. The story never really evolves from that scene onwards. And when watching the movie, when the train fight happened, I thought to myself, this is the final fight. It's a short movie, kind of like Let There Be Carnage. It's going to end here. And if it ended there, honestly, I think the movie would have been way better. Because if they just had a big action set piece in the train station and sort of wrapped up some loose ends, it would have just been, it's a fun popcorn flick. But from then on, the movie is just Matt Smith's character being evil for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And his motivations start getting more questionable. Like, if you ended it there, I wouldn't be questioning the motivations. But then he just starts doing, like, the scene where he kills someone in the bar. I leaned over to you straight away and go, that should be a deleted scene.
Yeah.
Should have been a deleted scene.
Yeah.
It did nothing for the story, just reminded us he's bad and gave us some screen time away from Jared Leto. Like, it made no sense. And yeah, it just got really boring. Up until that point, I actually was having fun with the movie. I thought it was, a bit lazy, a bit generic, but the pacing was good. And it was giving me just enough action that I was on board. But from that point onwards, we got like one or two fight scenes. One of them, arguably the worst, the big final fight.
So bad.
Even though it ended with a nice, cheesy bat Hadouken, which is basically a Kamehameha of bats. It was the worst fight. And then, so we just built up the movie to something shittier, and we just got a couple other like scenes of talking that didn't go anywhere.
Can I just say when he was in the scene where he's fighting Matt Smith, and he's like, it sounds like he's like got the sonar thing, and he's summoning something.
Yeah.
The first thought I had in my head is, oh, it's just like Goku summoning the spirit bomb, getting people's energy, but he's got bats instead.
Pretty much. Yeah, I just really, really think the movie would have been way more enjoyable if they just had a bigger, more climactic fight in the train station and then ended it there. I think most of my criticisms of this film, besides the generic script, the lack of innovation in storytelling, the really cold performances, and really just surface level dialogue. If you ignore all that, it's an okay
and the CG
movie.
And the CG
and the terrible CG. You're right. The film would have been pretty decent. But then from then on, my biggest criticism is from after that point, the movie gets really boring, which is the ultimate sin of a movie. If you get boring, your movie is boring, and it's really hard to recover from that. So yeah, it's a huge swing and a miss, I would say. I don't think it's as bad as most people say it is, though.
No, I still think I've still argued that Venom 2 is worse than this movie. I'm
Venom Let There Be Carnage. I feel like it's unwatchable. It's about it's about an hour of just bad sketch comedy.
Yeah.
Followed by a final fight scene, which was all right. And that's it. And I know people who like the Venom comedy will like it more, but I just think Venom Let There Be Carnage is one of the worst superhero movies I've ever seen. Morbius is really uninspired, but for the first half of it, it does nothing really offensively bad.
No. And if anything, I was at least partially interested in the first half. I thought there were some things there that had potential. It was like one of those things where it's like, this is an interesting concept, but it's been pulled off terribly.
I'll give it one compliment. The reason I think Matt Smith is so good is because the one thing I think they tried to do and put a lot of effort in was building the relationship between Morbius and I forget his name.
Lucian or something?
Lucien or Milo. That's it.
Yeah.
It goes two names, yeah. So they put a lot of effort into building the relationship between Milo and Morbius, and that, I think, really created a good... It's very Shakespearean, seeing like these two friends or family members or whatever fall apart and fight.
Yeah.
It's a tale as old as time. It's been done 100 times before, but it involves emotional stakes. Neither Venom movie had emotional stakes.
Yeah.
Especially Let There Be Carnage. Like, they're basically strangers when they fight at the end.
Yeah.
So that is... a few weeks ago, a few episodes ago, we talked about Uncharted, and I said one of the saving graces for me with Uncharted was that they set up a theme of like truth and lies and how a character had to make a choice to save the other character, and like that sort of saved the movie for me. What saves this movie for me is the relationship between Jared Leto and Matt Smith. They set it up pretty much from scene 2, and it carries all the way through the film. And when they fight, like when Morbius is to kill Milo, you kind of feel the emotional stakes there. And that's I wouldn't say it's amazing storytelling, but it's good storytelling. Everything
Yeah,
else around it in this film is really just been there, done that. But the effort they put in is the saving grace of this movie with that element.
with that single element. Yeah, I mean, Uncharted. You know how I feel on Uncharted. Uncharted to me is way worse than this movie, far worse than this movie, and so is Venom 2. They're towards the bottom of the barrel for me. This one,
I really don't understand your hatred of Uncharted. Like, I'm not saying it's good. I put Uncharted just barely above this movie for me. I think it's also really uninspired. I think it's really generic. But like, at least Uncharted has heart. This movie feels very cold, and
I just thought Uncharted was just poorly written and poorly made. It's just at the end of the day, it to me, it only just barely scraped the technical level to me. So, but anyway, no, we're not talking. We've gone to death over that. But
you're right.
as I said, interesting concepts that was set up, but yeah, just terrible execution. First half was interesting, had interesting concepts. I liked that relationship that Jared Leto had with Matt Smith. I agree with you there. I thought towards the end it was a bit of a clusterfuck. But yeah, I'm going to forget about it in a day. Kind of.
Yeah.
That's my mindset with the movie. I mean, I don't regret seeing it. But you're going to forget about it in 2 days. It's just
it's a forgettable popcorn flick. But to be fair, while it's not great, I feel like the internet is being a little more savage than they should. And I'm just looking this up on IMDb. The writers of this film are kind of like experts in writing forgettable popcorn flicks. So there's this writing partner, Matt Sazma and Burke Sharpless. I'm going to read out a few of the films they've worked on together.
Yep.
Which are the type of movies that you go for some popcorn, but you forget it within 2 weeks. All right. So they did Dracula Untold.
Yep.
Then The Last Witch Hunter. Gods of Egypt.
Yep.
The Power Rangers reboot.
Yep.
And now they've done Morbius.
They're all forgettable.
I would say Power Rangers, I think, much like Morbius, they made an effort with trying to set up some character work there, but the execution just fell really flat. So I think, and Gods of Egypt, everyone knows how much of a travesty that was, and Dracula Untold was also considered, I think, a big failure as well. So like that was the start of the MonsterVerse, which never took off. So like these writers, they're not really ones you should be banking your money on saying. And I really just wish Sony would just put more effort in, stop rushing out their projects, and I wish they would invest more in really well-proven writers and directors.
Yeah.
I mean, Life was great, but that's the
Life
only
was fantastic. I loved Life. I thought it was such a good sci-fi horror flick. More of that. I love that stuff.
Well, this director,
Daniel
Espinosa.
Yeah.
Like, I think Life was fine, but it's like he had like another 3 of Lives. If he had 3 Lives under his belt, I'd say amazing. But then, like, if you even look at the first Venom, like that's the same guy who did Uncharted. He did what else did he do? He did. Let's pull it up here. Ruben Fletcher. He's mostly known for producing. What else did he direct? He directed. Here we go. I guess Zombieland was kind of a hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of very forgettable stuff. And when you go to what's his name? Andy. Oh, who did Let There Be Carnage?
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis. Like, yeah, he's a great actor, but he's not my first choice to direct a superhero film.
I got a feeling that Andy Serkis probably got fucked around a bit by Sony in that regard. I really do think. Because Andy
Serkis is really surprised. Like, I don't know, you have such a respect for him as an actor.
Yeah,
that it just really makes you surprised that he would even touch a movie like this. I guess he did direct that Mowgli.
Yeah, that's Jungle. I think I mentioned that last time. I think that actually got decent reviews from memory, or it was decent. That's why I think maybe it was Maybe it
that
was.
movie got really buried because around the same time Disney released their own Jungle Book
Yeah,
movie. So
yeah.
people kind of ignored it. So that again also got the short end of the stick.
Oh, it got more.
But
It got mostly got more average-ish reviews.
yeah, but I
But
think maybe they would have chosen him because he clearly has a lot of experience with CGI. But again, I think Venom and Carnage look like hand keyframed animation rather than mocap. Could be wrong though. But again, I just want to say, I just want to see Sony go, all right, we're doing a movie with, I know, a big star, like who's proven, like Ben Affleck, or I know why he came to mind, or someone like Jared Leto and Tom Hardy. Yeah, they're names, but you're partnering them up, but they're not like giant names, and you're partnering them up with
oh
not
no,
really well established directors.
I disagree with that. I think Tom Hardy's a very big name. If anything, I'm more aware of Tom Hardy's movies than Ben Affleck's movies. I think Tom Hardy's a very big
Nah,
name.
but Tom Hardy is not on the level of Ben Affleck. Like Tom
Oh,
Hardy doesn't get Oscar noms. Ben
yeah, but
Affleck does.
I think that's more of a thing about what pictures they choose to do. I mean, I think Tom Hardy gets Oscar noms. He got nominated for Revenant, and he's done a lot of Oscar worthy performances.
Tom
I
Tom Hardy was in Revenant.
The Revenant,
I did
yeah.
not remember him in Revenant. Was he?
Yeah,
Fuck, I didn't know that. I didn't
he
realize.
played Fitzgerald in Revenant. He's arguably, well, in my opinion,
Oh, he did too. He did too. Okay.
he was the
I
best
love that
part.
movie. I can't believe I forgot that.
He
Yeah.
was to me, he was the best
Uh,
part of that movie. So
oh, come on, DiCaprio though, bro. DiCaprio. No.
no, look, I thought DiCaprio was good, but when I was watching that movie, I still thought I was seeing DiCaprio acting. Tom Hardy to me disappeared into that movie. He disappeared into that
Mm.
role. Leonardo DiCaprio didn't do that
Well,
for me.
that's fair. That's fair. Look, speaking of disappearing to roles, that's a great opportunity to transition to our next film. So I'm going to take the segue, if that's all right.
Yep.
Do we have any other final comments on Morbius?
No, we can move on.
All right. I wasn't going to talk about King Richard, but I love a good segue, so I want to quickly talk about King Richard. Will Smith disappears in this role, playing the father of the Williams sisters, training them to be tennis in a real ghetto neighborhood. Like he gets beat up by local gangsters in a shitty little tennis court in Compton. It's really a beautiful story. It's one of those movies where it's like this guy has a vision and he goes for the vision. I do feel like if I have to criticize it though a bit, the Williams sisters being attached to this film, I feel like might have maybe influenced it because I feel like whenever there's some drama, the problem gets solved like just a few scenes later. So but it's a good feel-good movie, and I really felt good watching it. This is one of the very few roles where Will Smith wasn't playing Will Smith. He changes his mannerisms, his voice. He does a really good job of portraying someone different. And I found that I think it is a really inspiring story. They do a good job too of he has a certain vision and he wants to do things a certain way, especially because he knows there's no famous black female tennis player. So he's scared that if his girls are the first, even though he knows they're good enough, they'll get a lot of like negative press and people will attack them.
There'll be backlash.
So he actually holds them back, and like people are telling him they could be winning tournaments. You should be letting them do. He goes, no, I want them to be trained, and that's it. And people are constantly questioning him, and they're going, is it your ego? And they make you wonder too, like, is he making the right choice?
Yeah.
In the end, yeah, he does. There's an amazing scene where they turn down, I think, $3 million from Nike before they even have a tournament, and then they lose the tournament. But in real life, as the story goes, like 7 months later, they get a $15 million deal, which had never been done before from another company. So yeah, like this is like a 14-year-old girl, by the way. Yeah. What's surprising too, because I have no idea about the original story, Serena Williams is a very small part of this film. Her sister Venus Williams is the star as a child. So it's more focused on Venus Williams rather than Serena Williams, which I thought, Serena Williams is the big celebrity now, she'd be the star of it, but no.
Why was that? Is there a reason why that is, or?
Well, in the movie, they want to get a special coach, and he trains them both. And this guy thinks Venus is better. And he says, "I'll train one of them for free, the better one. I won't train them both." And so he
Oh,
chooses that. But there is a scene though where he's like, he sort of talks to Serena, and Richard's like, "I know you're stronger than your sister, so I'm gonna so your sister can like be the best in the world right now, but you'll be the greatest of all time." Which is one of those scenes where I feel like it's for the audience, not for the story. Like
yeah.
I doubt that really happened, but
Because Venus
if
was
I'm not
Venus was
mistaken,
older, wasn't she? Venus Williams was older, or
I think so, but they
yeah.
seem very close in age. But yeah, look, it's really interesting. There's some really beautiful shots of the way they film tennis. Like, I know you might think, how the fuck do you make tennis look cool? There's a few shots where like they are successful with it. I want to give a big shout out to one other actor though. I couldn't believe he was in this. You know John Bernthal?
Yes, like
He's
him.
in this as a tennis coach. And I've never seen, like, I feel like just like Will Smith, he always sort of plays one type of character, right? John Bernthal is like the badass
Tough guy.
Marine type dude, tough guy. In this, he's a little, he's putting on an accent. He has a mustache. I wouldn't say he's whiny, but his character's function is to complain a lot, right? And because like he's constantly butting heads with Richard. And at first, I couldn't believe this is John Bernthal because it was so against the type for him, and it was so out of his character wheelhouse. And I had to like look it up just to double check. But no, he kind of looks a little bit like the guy he played, and I was really surprised at like how well he did because I love John Bernthal. He's great as oh man, the Punisher show he's on is so fucking good. He is the Punisher to me. And he's been in so many other great films, but I've never seen him play a character like this. And I've got to be honest, like just like I was really impressed with Will Smith, I was really impressed with John. And my respect for him as an actor has actually gone up a little bit because I've only ever seen him do tough guy roles, but he disappears into his role. He's like a completely different person. He's definitely not a tough guy. And I did not expect that for him as an actor. I love him. You know, he's great as Shane in The Walking Dead and all his other stuff. But yeah, like shout outs to him. Like he's a real actor, dude. He's fucking great. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. This movie's it's a fun movie. It's one of the out of all the Oscar films I've seen, this and Tick Tick Boom are like the easier ones to watch. It's
more accessible.
You know, yeah, it's really a lot accessible. It's a movie you can put it on, have fun. You don't have to think too hard. You don't have to pay too much attention, and you can still get the same energy from it. But yeah, great performances. Good directing too. I'm just going to quickly, who is this guy? Ronaldo Marcus Green. I haven't heard of him, but he did. I'm not familiar with any of his films, but he's on my radar now, so good for him. Anyways, let's move on to X, the new horror from A24.
Yes.
I haven't seen this one. I've been on the fence about it, but I understand.
Oh, you shouldn't have been on the fence about it, mate. I tried to convince you. You shouldn't have been on the fence about it.
All right, lay it on me. Tell me about this film. Tell me about X.
Okay, so X is one of the latest films by A24. I think it's one of their first slasher movies. I could be wrong about that, but
yeah, I was surprised when I found out it was a slasher because I think of A24 as really art house horror.
Yeah.
Really slow pacing.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if it's the same here, but like when people describe it as a slasher, like I don't know if they've ever done that. I can't think of any examples at least.
Well, it's filmed in a very it's very art housey in the sense of the way it's filmed. You know, it has that art house element to it. It takes a lot of stuff from 70s film, as this, shot on old cameras, stuff in 4:3, the framing. There's a lot of references to 70s cinema. And
yeah, very A24 sounding so far.
And I love A24. Yeah. To me, they are such a step above almost all other movie production companies in terms of originality, writing,
They love like elevated horror, right?
creativity. Yes, I did just such a step above, and I saw this movie and I was just loving every minute of it. I thought written well, the characters were interesting and fleshed out. The horror part was good, the gore was good. I mean, it starts off like a lot of other A24 films, in that it starts off slow and then builds up and builds up and builds up. So yeah, it's directed by Ty West. It's about a bunch of these young people who go and decide to shoot a porn film at a property in rural Texas. There's a lot of themes of religion, ageism, sex and sexuality.
It's got like sexuality versus religion type.
Yeah, kind of that kind of the taboo of sex, especially during those times. And versus religion, very absent until marriage, that kind of thing. There's a TV constantly playing on in the background with a preacher going off at some, Christian, what do you call those? Not rallies, but Christian, events where they grab a whole bunch of people and he's like, "I saved the Lord," that kind of thing. So yeah. So a bunch of young people go and decide to shoot a porn movie. They all the actresses want to be stars. They think it's going to be their next step in Hollywood, becoming famous. The main girl is Maxine, played by Mia Goth, who I haven't seen her a lot, but she does a lot of indie films, and she's done a couple of A24 films. She is Mia Goth to me is very. She'll do anything, it seems like. She devotes herself to the art. If it involves her taking her clothes off, she'll do it. It involves her doing something really gritty, or, she'll do it. She's just all in. And she was fantastic in this. So they go to this property. It's owned by this old couple. They stay in the main house. The young filmmakers stay in this sort of random, smaller house that's on the farming property where they shoot the film. Old people kind of find out what's going on. There's a lot of stuff about ageism and sex there. And yeah, so that's when the slasher element kind of comes in, but that's not until about halfway through.
Who's like slasher? It's like the old couple, or is that like a mystery, or?
No, it's the old couple. The old couple.
Right.
I won't go into too much in case you want to see it, but it's not just them there's an element of them being jealous because they're younger than them. The old couple just that they're younger, that go in there, and especially the one interesting thing I found was the old woman was probably the more violent one, if anything. She has a very deep jealousy of these young people having sex and having a sense of freedom, whereas the old people are kind of, I don't want to say repressed, but
no, I get you. It's weird as I grow up, the more I relate to that concept. Like,
yes.
I look at younger people like, oh man, I could have had so much more sex if I didn't care as much, or if I could have had more fun if I didn't do this, or maybe I should have did more drugs, or maybe I should have had more.
Yeah,
I didn't realize maybe I should have been more free. And then it feels like the younger the generations get, like the more open they are.
Yeah, there's
the older I get, the more I feel like that. So maybe I'll end up being like that old couple and kill a bunch of kids. Who knows?
It's one of the few slasher movies where I actually kind of felt a bit sorry for the killers. I kind of felt a little bit sorry, a little bit of sympathy, not heaps, but I felt a little tiny bit of sympathy for the old couple, especially the old woman, because there's a lot of you kind of get an emotional connection with what she's going through and what she's, she just feels. It's almost as if it's like, what's the point of life anymore? I'm old. I'm going to die soon anyway. There's nothing to look forward to. Their house is just run down, shit, dirty. There's nothing going on in their lives. Interesting fact. So this is set in rural Texas, but the whole film was shot in New Zealand, which I thought was very interesting. And I saw this with a mate of mine, and there was a couple of shots where there was gum trees in the background, and we're like, hey, those aren't in Texas. I also found it very interesting because the Texas Chainsaw film, which I feel like this borrows a lot from the original Texas Chainsaw film. It borrows a lot from that in terms of the slasher elements, the horror elements. The new one was actually filmed in Europe. So we think,
Right.
is there some reason these Texas-based films don't want to actually shoot in Texas and they go into different countries to shoot in locations that resemble rural Texas? I just thought it was an interesting idea.
I wouldn't be surprised, especially it feels like, liberal Hollywood types, if they're talking down on like a rural community like Texas, it could be pretty offensive. So maybe just easier just not to piss them off, but who knows? Look, I just want to say, going back to your point about sympathizing, relating to the killers, that's good storytelling. Like the best villains are the heroes of their own story,
Yeah.
If you can understand their motivations, relate to them, well, that's just really good storytelling. It's really good writing. So, shout outs to them.
I don't think it's to the point where you felt totally sorry for them, because they do some pretty fucked up things to these young people. But at the same time, there was an element of where you felt a bit of sympathy for them, and they carried it. Ty West carried that very well. I love this movie. I thought it was fantastic. It was probably one of the best horror movies I've seen in a very long time. One of the best I've seen in a very long time. If you have a chance, go see it. There was a lot of sorry, I was just going to say there's a lot of very funny sexual references in the movie as well, because they're shooting a porno. There's scenes where they've obviously like attached fake penis. So there's one scene where the main guy that's having sex in the movies, I think it's Kid Cudi, or Kid Cudi. Is the main Kid Cudi. Sorry, Kid Cudi. He's the main dude that's having he's the main male performer having all the sex with all the girls. And there's a scene where he's talking to the old person, and he's standing naked outside in the dark, and it's just see this like silhouette of just this giant penis hanging from its legs. And it's obviously I'm going to assume it's a prosthetic, a fake one, but it's just so fucking funny to see. The imagery is great. The cinematography is fantastic. The editing is fantastic. Awesome. A lot of 70s style editing. Go see it. A24.
Awesome. Yeah, shouts to Ty West. He's been in the game for a while. House the Devil, Cabin Fever 2, to the segment VHS and the ABCs of Death, to an episode of the Scream TV series. This guy's been out there, so shouts to him.
Oh, can I just add, I just want one more thing, just before we go on the next topic. I actually found it very interesting because when he shot it in New Zealand, he revealed during hotel quarantine, he wrote an entire prequel to this movie that he shot after he shot this movie, which I thought was quite interesting.
So it's already shot.
It's already shot. It's coming out this year. So there's a prequel coming out to this movie. And he just did it on the fly because he's in hotel quarantine in New Zealand. So, just thought I'd add that in there.
Looking forward to it. Well, anyways, guys, that's it for us today here at Upcoming Attractions. We'll cover the bubble in the next episode. So look forward to that. I don't know much to say about it, but I know Adrienne does. So we'll see how that goes. Guys, if you want to be in touch with Upcoming Attractions, be sure to follow us. Facebook, Instagram, join our squad on TikTok. And if you want to listen to us, check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and be sure to watch us on YouTube. A 5-star iTunes review does go a long way. We'd appreciate the love and support. So if you can, please consider it. Anyways, that's it for us today. I'm Matt, and that's Jesse. We'll see you guys next time. Laters.
Bye, guys.